at least in my new world in television, which is really my sole focus now, there just seems to be this assumption that everything has to be bundled together, that on the consumer side, that basically everybody wants to be engaging in social activity as they watch. That their TV has to be a smart TV. And I have to say, I still have some reservations. I'm very engaged on all these platforms, and I like to think of myself as a relatively current person. But I just do wonder about the inherent nature, and I guess I would throw this out to the group, not just the TV representative on the panel, but in terms of lean back versus lean forward, I guess I just still have my doubts as to whether it all is going to be one. That even to take your point about the news cycle, that everybody's only going to be consuming news through their Twitter feed, or that I do feel like there still will be some boundaries that people will want to shut their phone off when they go into a movie, et cetera. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you disagree with me.
No, I think you're right. I think when VCRs came out, everybody said nobody would ever go to a movie again. So it's not, there's always going to be that need for the desire for people to sit in their living room and watch something on a big screen, or go to a theater and watch a movie. It's a different experience, and it's an experience people always want. There's all these stories about cord cutting and about young people not getting cable, but it turns out once they can afford to have cable, they come back to it. So it's more, people love to have choice and watch things when they want to watch it, not pay for a network. If they don't want to watch A&E, they don't want to have to pay for it, even though they want to watch ESPN. They should just pay for that. And there's fights with cable companies about that. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But it's also, people like that their content is curated for them, and tell them, here, this is what you should check out. And if it's all an on-demand world, that will never happen. But I think people will still long for the traditional experience of watching a TV show or watching a movie. They may, while they're watching their TV show, be on their iPad with their friends talking about that TV show. Great. They're not going to be doing that in movies, hopefully. Actually, sometimes they are.
Yeah.
But no, I think it will last. It's not a dying.
I've seen it in the theater.
Yeah.
People, tweeting when
Yeah,
in the middle of a live show.
Well, that's become a really interesting hot spot, because, so to speak, because you have this divide of people. I think Alamo Drafthouse, famously, the chain based in Austin, has, brought the hammer down on people texting in the theater. But then I think it was AMC or another chain was testing this idea of having a specific auditorium reserved for people who wanted to be on their phones.
Yeah, I believe, I'm not sure where, but around the country they've done some of those tests. Where this is so don't go to the screening on Friday night at 9 p.m. if you don't want to be around kids that'll be shouting and texting.
Yeah.
I've seen a few social platforms try to create that experience where you can watch a movie and simultaneously have the option of chatting with other people watching the movie. And I've yet to see one be successful presently. It doesn't mean it won't happen. But one service in particular I'm thinking of, and I think there's two, that tried that about 2 years ago, and it didn't catch on for them. There's always a lot of factors that can decide that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wonder when the tipping point for that might happen. 'Cause
Yeah.
I personally can't see watching a show and tweeting and Facebooking at the same time.
I know,
It's just,
me neither.
it just doesn't work for me. But
I only recently dipped a toe in that water myself, and it was kind of enjoyable. I don't know.
It's the journalist way.
Yeah, not much else. Yeah, exactly. The George Plimpton example. You gotta participate. But actually, that's a good segue. I could have sort of set this up at this top, but I wanted to be polite. But I'd love to hear more your personal POV on this stuff. And I just mentioned that I think it's important to kind of put yourself out there. Certainly, as a journalist, I feel it's part of the package. But do you guys, just in your own day-to-day consumption, I mean, in some ways you're the alphas, right? Because you know the whole landscape so well and you participate in it. Do you find yourself just getting more and more kind of wrapped up in this stuff? Do you have a sort of shut the phone off at 10 o'clock at night type of policy? I mean, are you sort of social media animals? I'd just be curious, a quick thought or two about just your own habits would be interesting.
I mean, while I certainly try not to, it's hard because everything's so immediate, and it's like if you're not checking it all the time. I mean, there's been so many instances where it's literally a half an hour, and they're like, "Do you know what happened? Did you see what happened?" No, I was, I was doing something else. I was so it's very hard. So a lot of times you do, especially if it's a specific project you're working on or specific artist that I'm working on, like, you kind of always have to be knowing what's going on, especially if there's a lot of things going on where you know there's going to be a lot of stuff written.
Yeah. And you have everything kind of linked together, so it's sending you emails saying.
Yeah, yeah. Everything linked together. We're just checking several things, lots of Google alerts and you know, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, it probably goes with the territory to some degree.
Well, there's this thing called Growl, too, that you can line up a bunch of different, you can put a topic in for any of the projects you're working on, and they'll constantly monitor all social networking things and come up and tell you, you know, what people are saying or when it's mentioned. I mean, I personally just figured out how to hook up my Mac to my TV, and I'm very proud of myself for doing that, I gotta tell you. Because a lot of my clients now, I don't know, you're probably, it used to send DVDs and cassettes back, not to sound like a caveman, but they used to send out cassettes and DVDs for reviews and stuff like that, and now it's all switching to Vimeo links like really quickly. So now a lot of the projects we work on are streamed to journalists for their feedback, and so being able to hook up my TV to my laptop is like really important. So I figured out how to do that a couple of weeks ago, which
That's huge.
I know it's
Still not there yet.
I know it's a big admission to make. I'm sure you guys have been doing it forever, but I just figured it out.
I take it a step further. In my office, I have a TV with a TweetDeck on it, and that's all that's
nice.
on there.
Wow.
And it's separated by feed, so I have one feed that's just journalists, which is great because I get to see what you guys are out there talking about. And it does help. Either I find out they're talking about my show, or I find out what it is they are talking about, what they're hot on. Maybe there's a trend story in there that I can pitch. But I get to follow my talent, I get to follow my producers, and then I get to follow what the fans are saying about the show all at the same time. So it's constantly going in my office like a news ticker. It's great.
Yeah, that's what's really changed for me. It's where the press have gone. So now there's so many journalists on Twitter, so many on Facebook. On Facebook, you know, all my friends in media and entertainment are posting stories constantly. So they're basically aggregating these stories for me. So I go on Facebook all the time during the day, but where it used to be a distraction, now it's just leading you to this trailer you haven't seen or the story you didn't know about, and it's curating all this material so you don't have to sit there and try to read 5 magazines on Monday morning. And then also Twitter, journalists constantly, and what John was saying about press reactions, now we walk out of a screening, especially in a festival, and you have 15 reactions in front of you. You haven't had to even chase anyone.
Yeah.
Spend any time.
Yeah, that's happened too. I was going to say that too about Facebook. I mean, it curates my news because a lot of my friends are people that are in the industry and other journalists, so it's all kind of, I find out that I can find out a lot of trending stories just by checking my Facebook page.